Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another show, for another episode of our Tactical Breakdown series and our Loan Report series, in which we look in detail at our loanees every single month, breaking them down, seeing how they're getting on. And for this series, of course, we're focusing in on our young French defender, our young star, who's never doubted his Arsenal future, not once. William Saliba. And I'm very happy, as always, to be joined by Ben from the Marseille View. How you doing, Ben? Are you well?
Yeah, very well. Happy to join and happy to talk about Saliba in a very positive way.
Absolutely. Your beard is looking slightly different to last time.
It's just because I've not used the clippers in a week. That's why.
It's good stuff, mate. It stands out. It's good. It's good. I mean, I need to work on mine. It's still very patchy in places. It needs work. Is what it needs.
It's a lot of it takes a lot of upkeep when you get it right, but it's worth it.
Absolutely. Anyway, we are here to talk about William Saliba, but it's been a pretty good month for us both. Arsenal, of course, now unbeaten in 9. Marseille, whilst October didn't get off to the best starts, it improved gradually, and actually there was a really interesting fixture. We obviously had Le Classique with PSG, which didn't go the way that I think a lot of people thought it was going to go, and Saliba had a big hand and part to do with that as well. So talk to me about the month of October, Ben.
It started off shaky, so we lost at Lille, and then there was the international break. And actually, Saliba against Lille, he wasn't one of the worst performers, but he certainly wasn't up to the standards that he showed in previous games. I thought Lille, they're French champions. They've got a good attack. They did very, very well at pressing the midfield, so they would just throw on goal pretty relentlessly, and the results pretty logical. And then the international break happened, and we were back against Lorient, which we were all expecting to win, really. It was a bit of a tribute night to Bernard Tapie, who died recently. Bless him. He was our chairman when we won the Champions League, so it was a big tribute to him. And it's one of those games that when it's a big event like that, the whole team has to step up. They can't lose. They have to put on a good show. And he was back to his usual self. Now, I think there's two changes have happened. One of them, Steve Mandanda was our starting keeper at the beginning of the season. He's now been replaced by Pau Lopez, the loanee from Roma, who is, I think, more of an adept at playing out from the back, a bit similar to the way Ramsdale has replaced Leno at Arsenal. Yeah. The same principles of he participates in the build-up plays, quick off his line, and he sort of positions himself a bit further forward. So he's now had a run of 11 consecutive games, I think. So he's now established. And I think the back line now have that trust and have that confidence of playing with him behind them. And also, so in the system that we play with 3 at the back, you had Leonardo Balerdi, the Argentinian, who was the sweeper. And he's been replaced by the resurgent Duye Chileta, who was linked with Arsenal as well, I believe, Croatian centre-back, who's made a great return to form, but also has really shot up our defence and has comforted Saliba. I think we've commented this, haven't we, in the last 2 episodes, that his style is to carry the ball forward and get forward. I think he gives them that much more freedom because he's just more reliable and a lot less error-prone than Balerdi is behind him. So that's the sort of breakdown. So those 2 changes have basically... I think the best way to summarize it have led to Saliba stepping up another level, which is great to see that he's got that, but also a bit of a pleasant surprise that he's going from strength to strength. And the PSG game was the big test, I think, for the whole team. You go into the game, you look at obviously the lineups: Mbappe, Messi, Neymar, Di Maria, very worried about how we were going to get exposed because we were a bit shaky. We passed the test, and Saliba passed the test. I think he was quite comfortably the man of the match.
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody would have seen this now on social media, a clip of him chasing down Mbappe, getting an last-ditch tackle, and it was just outstanding. He had the whole PSG team in his back pocket anytime that one of them was on his wing. So outstanding from him, and since then he's I think we're due to find out our nominee, our winner for Marseille Player of the Month for October. I'd be surprised if he didn't win it because that's just how consistent he's been. So we've got, I think if you look at the stats, we've registered 3 or 4 clean sheets in the last 6 games. And if you look at Saliba's performances, not only defensively, but going forwards, I think I saw it yesterday. It was quite surprising. He's in the top 5 players for October in terms of successful dribbles in the whole French league.
Wow. That's for a centre-back.
He's a centre-back. So why is he even dribbling? But he's... there's this viral clips of him going around, of nutmegging people and taking people on. He got a shot off a couple of weeks ago, I think. He was close to scoring. He's just been outstanding.
So the Marseille social media team have been having a field day recently with the with the Saliba clips that have been going around. They know what that's going to do. The Arsenal fans will retweet the hell out of those. So
hopefully
they know what they're doing. Yeah,
I think we're now getting to the stage where we're seeing Arsenal doing well, and we're sort of hoping you don't want him back. That
was kind of the next point I was going to come on to before we go into the detailed breakdown of the stats. Was that this month saw the kind of breaking reports that his future very much does lie with Arsenal, and actually not only from like a speculative position, but reports coming out directly from kind of his camp and sources kind of close to him insinuating that he's looking to learn more English whilst he's in France with Marseille to come back and fight for that place. He's not put off by the fact that Ben White took his number, and he's kind of got a bit of I suppose he's got the wind behind his sails to try and get back off the back of a really good season with Marseille to get into the Arsenal team next season, which to Arsenal fans will be an absolute delight. But obviously yourselves, you would have hoping that a permanent deal might have been able to be struck.
But we'll see. I mean, look, you never know how it goes in football. Maybe he'll push for the move. Maybe other clubs will sweep in. But I think from Arsenal's point of view, you can only look at it with confidence and go, look, not only is he playing well, but he's playing in a very similar style and system to the one that Arteta's trying to put in place at Arsenal.
Yeah.
If Arsenal get European football, you're going to need a bigger squad, and you're going to need quality, not just quantity. And Saliba will certainly, you'd expect him to play at least 20, 25 games next year. Yeah. If he goes back to Arsenal and you do have a European Cup to play in, then there is a place for him. I mean, I'd love to keep him, but is it going to be possible? Are we going to be able to afford it? Probably not.
Well, that's interesting because King says, like, if Marseille was to get into the Champions League and Arsenal don't reach Europe, is there a chance that Marseille tries to buy Saliba? Now, if you consider that Arsenal paid £28 million for him, he'll have 2 years left on his deal, they're not forced into selling him. They would want at least that fee back for him.
I'd like to think we would, but I think it's always a catch-22 because it eats into a big chunk of your transfer kitty when you're a French club. I'd imagine if we went into the Champions League, we'd have 40 million to spend top. So
yeah,
putting 28 million of that, even though it is Saliba and he's a future great in my opinion, I think we'd look at it and go, if we can negotiate it down to 20 maybe, but I don't think that. I think we'd try. I'd be surprised if we didn't try to keep him. But again, the likelihood is at best for us, I'm thinking we maybe get another year of loan, depending on what Arteta wants to do with him, if he's still around by then. But I'm fully expecting him to walk into the Arsenal team when he comes back next summer and prove himself.
Yeah, I thought that before. and he was sent on loan. So for me, a prediction of mine is that PSG will come knocking in the summer. And if, depending on the figure that a club like them were able to raise for him, then it'll be intriguing. But obviously they've got aging centre-backs. They have just signed Ramos, of course, but Kimpembe, then we know, is the young guy there. Marquinhos isn't getting any younger. So Diallo, of course, is not really, hit the ground running since moving to Dortmund. He's not become the player that people thought he was going to be. So maybe they look at Saliba as possibly one that they will look to sign, and they have got the money to go in and do it if they need it. So there's that. Anyway, we feel like we've been putting you guys off we've been starving you of stats. So let's go into the statistical analysis. Now, of course, this month we've been able to kind of compare the stats based upon how he's grown from last month. So we can do some comparisons here. Duels wise, he went up 63.6%. He's gone up in that respect. Aerial duels as well. The win percentage has gone up, as has his interceptions. The only thing that's gone down is that he's lost the ball more times this month. But from the amount of times we're talking about he's dribbling out from the back, that's not seemingly surprising. He has kind of
impressive, yeah,
exactly, and exactly 4.71 for a playing out from the back defender isn't exactly high by any means. And when you see that he's also upped his recovery rate at 8.76 and 17.4% of those, which is also an increase happening in the opposition half, that in itself kind of balances out. Defensively, we talk about him as a player that likes to play out from the back, of course, but how has he been? We saw the famous tackle on Kylian Mbappe and his recovery pace, one of those recoveries going into that statistic there. Is he just gradually improving that area of his game as every kind of week goes by?
He is, yeah. I think, as I mentioned at the beginning, I think the tweak that Marseille have made with playing Chileta Tsar behind him means that's why his duels would have gone up and his losses would have gone up, is because he's now playing even further up the pitch than he was. And the right side, he's sort of got. I'd almost go as far as saying he's sort of a defensive playmaker. When he gets the ball back, he will be the one that tries to pick the risky pass or tries to take a player on, and he'll try and overlap even, which is quite surprising. But that's, he's 20 years old. He's got the stamina to do that at his age. Yeah. So I think that's what's contributed to the stats going up slightly. But just in his game, I think just the level of assurance, he was already quite assured. But I think that the PSG game is really, now that I think it's proven to him that he can cut it against the biggest teams at the biggest level. He's just, since then, he's been our best player and the most consistent performer. So I think he's really stepped up, not only from a statistical point of view and profile point of view, but he's acting like a bit of a leader as well.
Absolutely. Looking kind of his passing now, you'll see that there's all red in terms of kind of where this has dropped. But when you start to look at the percentages, you start to understand why it has dropped, because frankly, his passing statistics from the first 2 months were unbelievable. Like, the ridiculous accuracy of his passing was insane. Before this month, he actually had 100% pass into the box percentage, which for a centre back is just silly. His pass into the final third was over 90%. That has slightly dipped now to 88.3. Do you think he's being a bit more kind of risky as he grows in confidence with his passing? He's trying to do more. Do you think that's down to that?
That's it entirely. That is because he is just playing a bit further forwards, and also he's sort of picking the riskier pass. He's trying to sort of skip the midfield sometimes. His long passing, it's decent, but it's not the most accurate part of his game. But I think he's certainly trying to take that on a bit more and use it a bit more. But yeah, he's passing into the box. I mean, he's just been getting forward so much more. So I think he's passing more, and the number of passes he's attempting, you're obviously going to see these figures stabilise throughout the season. But yeah, those numbers are still outstanding for a centre back.
Yeah, it is ridiculous. So you'll be looking at probably about half through the season. We'll get a graphic up of how it's changed across, and you'll see that the passing has probably gone down from the start. But that's only because he began the campaign with such ridiculously high passing stats that it's not surprising. But interestingly, you said he's getting more expressive, and that's coming forward in the dribbling stats. I mean, he's gone up 1.46 dribbles, 68.2% success rate, 1.46 progressive runs. I think that's gone up by more than 0.4 from the last month, which is a big rise. He has had slightly less touches in the box, but I mean, it's showing how he is being more expressive from the back again.
Indeed, it's just the approach that's with the change of centre back. I think he's got the freedom to roam forward a bit. We've also, in a way, the right side has been the one where we've rotated the less in a way. So I think he's got a consistent run of games with the same players in front of him. And it's just led to obviously them combining more and him being able to build up in the play and the combinations being enabled, whether it's little triangles and he overlaps. So I think he's not been in the box as much just because, to be honest, Guendouzi has sort of drifted over to the right as well. So he's now the one that's relied upon to get forward a bit more. And it's the way Sampaoli's tweaked the system slightly, where Saliba does prioritize his defensive responsibilities, but he's still given the freedom to get forward if he sees a chance to. And he's just carrying the ball, he's passing it around, and it's not a case of when they pass, when the midfield passes back to a centre back, they're usually 30-40 yards. He's on the halfway line. He's just sat there on the halfway line waiting to distribute either right or in front of him, very rarely backwards.
He's just one of those defenders that makes you smile when you watch him. It's just,
yeah, it's
what he is. Yeah, it is, and I think it is so interesting to know what will happen in 8 months' time when the season comes to an end, and what Arteta chooses to do with him. They say they're going to sit down. He was asked about him in a press conference the other day, and he said that it's a decision that they'll make at the end of the season, which I think a lot of Arsenal fans reacted quite. You won't believe this, but they reacted to it in quite a ferocious way. It was a lot of why can't they commit to him now? Why wouldn't they say he's going to be part of their plans now? And for me, it's a case of he doesn't have to right now. We were in October at the time. There was months and months. So much can change between now and then. And he did say twice that he's our player. He kept on saying he's Arsenal's player. I mean, there's not much more that you can say to commit to a player than saying he's ours. And they are. I mean, Edu went to watch him, I think, in La Classique along with our lone operative as well. So there's clearly a huge interest being put into Saliba, and Arteta I don't look at as someone who would just completely ignore the quality of a player just because of an issue in the past. If he's willing to move on from that, Arteta strikes me as the guy that will give him that chance if he's willing to work on that. Guendouzi wasn't. Like, it just seemed like Guendouzi wasn't willing to do that.
Too early with Guendouzi,
yeah.
No, I think it's it's classic brinksmanship, isn't it? I think the problem is if you're Ben White or Gabriel, and or Holding, and you're watching, your manager says, Saliba, as soon as he gets back, he'll start. Well, he can't say that. He can't put his starting defence off currently. He's got to let those guys be confident, have that belief that they'll be the starting ones, whilst at the same time extending the olive branch to Saliba, saying, we'd love to have him back when he comes back to us. But I don't think there's anything more in to read into that than he's just toeing the line and being very diplomatic and cautious with his press conference.
Yeah. Just to finish off the show, then, he's had a great month, but we do like to look at kind of areas of development always. If there was thing to kind of pick out from the month, what is the main thing that he still needs to be working on?
Again, it may seem like asking from a lot, but he gets himself so often. He wins the headers on corners when we're attacking. If he learns to get those on target, he'd get 5-6 goals a season. So you see the goal, for example, that Gabriel scored at the weekend away to Leicester. So he makes those runs. He gets on the end of the ball, but he's just not very good at getting it on target so far. So he's a big lad. He's obviously going to win a lot of duels in the air. I'm sure that at some point a coach will work with him, or maybe he just needs that goal to sort of be confident and go up for more challenges. But I think it's the attacking side of it is his heading from attacking corners. That's probably the only thing he needs to improve, and just stay consistent. That's all we can ask from him.
Well, if the area of development for a defender is that they need to score more goals, you know that he's doing pretty good defensively. So
maybe he's asking too much, but
no, it's definitely not. Always room for improvement. Absolutely. We hope you've enjoyed your next monthly breakdown of William Saliba. You can go back and watch how Saliba got on in the months of September and August as well. Ben, thank you as always for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you again at the end of November for the next update.
Take care, everyone.
Absolutely. You can find Ben at the Marseille View and your own accounts at 81 Immortal. Is that right?
Immortal 91, yeah.
There we go. Lovely stuff. You'll be able to find Ben there. You'll be able to find Ben there. You can find ourselves at the Gooner Talk TV. We'll be back tomorrow morning with our normal 8 a.m. show. Plus, the next tactical breakdown report will be of the Arsenal youth team, looking at the players that Saliba used to play alongside because he wasn't good enough for the first team. So we'll be looking into all of those guys after another good month, which has seen the under-23s now sit at the top of the PL2 table after an amazing month as well. So really positive stuff. As always, do drop a like on the video. Do subscribe to the channel. We'll see you again very, very soon. And as always, up the Arsenal.